Hello, this is Gerald-Johan Vanoise, an educational channel full of demonstrations in support of the sound-informed theory, which shows you how letters hang together, how letters can be transformed and can be changed into forms, and that you can see in what way the letters hang together as a natural system of order that is also recognizable in nature, that follows certain rules of nature, and that has its own frame of time and space distinctions, possible distinctions, and that all the letters fit within that system. This video is the next one in the series that show you how certain hanging together letters have a tendency to show themselves in a certain way. I had the previous video was with ear as last letters in every word. Here I have OOR as the next one. So I take some examples: store, KOOR, KOOR, VOOR, DOOR, ROAR, YOR, LOR, MORE, TORN and DOORN, to compare some English and Dutch words. We will start with OOR. Like I started with ear last time, so this is the double O and the R. So the puzzle pieces that I use are, I will always use same kind of puzzle pieces without much explanation, although there is a whole world and a whole system and whole behind it. We will use it when there are more abstract words. The abstract words are more context bound, and of course the context of space and time will matter for those words much more than the words that have an immediate access to the letters as physical references. Or we have two spaces, let's say, two references of O's, which can be a connection from within or connection outside. Let's see how we can see OOR. Let's do both. Let's make a connection inside and let's make a connection to the outside, to a different type of O. So these kind of connections, the R's are the interconnecting connections and making of connections in a frame of time and space, with the most emphasis on the time frames. That's also what is behind it. So I have this scheme, basic scheme, that I will use, which seems to be not much of a use in the first place. It also doesn't remind you of the ear. But let's find out first an example of an ear and how the ear works. I found this one on the internet, and let's now see how I can use it. Now it is a bit limited if I see it. Okay, we find connections or interconnections in, let's say, spaces. It is a space, there's a spatial frame, because there is a timetable reference, which is open, an open process in time. But where does this open process exist? It is in space. So that's why O is mostly a reference to a space where time-based schedules can appear, like the processes can appear. That's more or less what the R is about. So what can we have if we have a connection from this one space to another space? We could make multiple connections there that are interconnected in a process. So we make this connection from one space to the other in interaction. That's what we do. We try to focus upon the space, find out what is relevant, what is interconnected, and what we can make something from it, and we reflect it into our inner ear and make some sense of it. That's what we do in the ear. It is not about a physical ear, this OOR, compared to the English one. The English, I have a basic reference to the letters and the sounds in the English word ear, where you have all the yellow impulses as E, We have the EA as the connection of the ear, physical ear in the background. So you have the physical ear in the background where there is a connection, and you connect to just one point underneath, and the same thing. The impulses, you see a lot of impulse insertions of sound, of course, that's what we have in the ear. We connect it to the inner side as well. So it is in the English word, it is a physical object and it's a functional object. In the Dutch word, it is interpreting its connections. So what kind of connections do I hear? And I connect them to my inner interpretation, then let's say, of these connections. You can also emphasize the spiraling down, the spiraling inwards with the R, but it's not absolutely necessary, but it is one of these tendencies of the R. This is also explained in my book, but it's not the most important thing to associate, but it can be helpful to emphasize this now and then. Let's go to the next word, VOOR. VOOR is a Dutch word. It means two very distinctive things. It's the groove at the farmland, and it also means in order to. So something means it has a purpose for something, and that's what it is. But as a frame here, as you can see, as a picture, you can picture it, you can understand it, but it doesn't say, not even these grooves in the field say what it really is. The VOOR, just like for, means something in a process. So just let us emphasize on this aspect, because a lot of these letters, the V, the O and the R, are all connected to spatial and time frames. So you understand them better if you also connect them. The same with the VOOR, it has a purpose so that we can do something with it. So this opens up, it gives air to the soil, gives you a place where you can plant a seed in it, and this seed has to grow after a while in a time frame, in a schedule, so that we can harvest it after a while. This is all connected, interconnected. It's even in the words themselves that these interconnections are already there. Because the V is the move towards this change in the space. We make a centralizing order with our volume. We move it, so in order that we can reorganize it in time and space. That's something you can read in my book in the schedule. You can read what is the V. Okay, it's there in the system. It is there to make a restoring order from within the centralizing vision of the volume. So we do something with the volume, we move it from there, only because we want to reorganize, in this case, the soil and the purpose of this soil in a schedule in time. That's what we'll do there. And this time schedule is both in the O and the R available. The O is, like I said, it's the space, it's the available space where you can add a process into it. And the R will give it an order in time. It will give it a restoring place in time. So it is even there, you can recognize it in the letters. The time schedule, the spatial reorganization, and the spatial reference, and the move, all of them are in there. Let's go to the door. The door is, we already had that before. Door is the door in English. Going through is the Dutch word. So you have the D, this pressure, and you go here. I will use the spiraling thing. We will go through it. We will have an access to the other space. Not more than that. KOOR or choir, as exists as well. This is a Dutch word, so you can see it, the K is breaking up things in parts. You can see the parts at the O, at the space in organized space. But because of the R, they will be connected, they will be interconnected in space. And this gives the impression that it is about organized space. A choir is not organized space, but I will show you that it is connected with a space. That's how I perceive it here in this schedule already, that I see here that there is a cooperative vision here, only because of its placement. When I look up the word, what it means, we know that choir also is a physical space, as you can you might know with the priest choir. And this space has also an organization there of acoustics. So it's simply because of the acoustics we have a well organized form of how all these elements come better together and harmonize, even if when they break into the acoustics, they come back together in a space where they are even enlarged, where they are even enlarged in their power, let's say, and that's so that the choir as a sound will also sound better. And it is a place, but it is much more than that. It is connected with the place, it is connected with acoustics, or connected with reflections and interconnections, as you can see, as you can sense. KOOR is the C. The C makes a selection of what we can use in what we know from within all kinds of elements within the process. The O is then this environment or the process itself, and there are found interconnections. Also here it works from all sides, from all variations, in all circumstances. We find the cooperative, fully interactive part. It comes back to the core. That's what makes the core, in this case the center point only, the center focus of, let's say, even of the acoustics go into one center and makes it stronger from there. That's the core. This core makes the interaction, the interactive, fully interactive part more strong. ROAR has the same thing. It is also this, with the sound we have the interconnection between the space and the physicality of space because of the A. And this physicality gets stronger, stronger, and stronger, and stronger at the edges, simply because of this setting. LOR is the L is just two ways. It's just going from one side to another. It's the two-dimensional L space in between, and the R tries to connect one space to the other space. The LOR sees what can come through from one place or one time frame even to another, one thing to another, and how it can be inherited, let's say, in a way. That's what you can recognize in the letters and in the frame of letters, not much more than that. Story is not immediately easy to recognize. Even if you put it a little bit more, you emphasize it a little bit with, again here, also here, without the time and space frames, it's not even clear what is here. You have the space, okay, you have the S, which means effect, T means a distinction on the place. You don't really have much to go on, but if we connect it to the time and space frame, it will be much more clear what it is, because then you will have a purpose. You give a purpose, or you give a strong effect. So we give here a purpose to make a distinction with a T at a certain place within a certain time frame process. So it provides, the O here provides a connection to a certain length of time. that's what I immediately have here from the letters. But the word itself, you mean store, if you think about it, sorry I was a bit too quick and just reading it, it's not a good thing. The word itself, store, means that we have a place and we fill it in with a different purpose each time, and we give it a certain time frame. So a temporal function, we give it for a certain time, and it can be filled in with other things, and depending on what it is and how long we need it there, that's where the store or storage, the keeping place, will be used for certain time. So it is connected with time, it's connected with place, and it's connected with a purpose. So again, I would say it's a purpose with a certain, for a certain effect, to create a certain effect for a certain purpose, that you use a concept that you can use at a certain place for a certain time. That's what actually is readable, analyzable, if you take out the right words in the right order and you can analyze it in that way, and then you understand what store is and what store can mean, and so on. Let's go to more. You have the more, the Dutch word, and the English more, the English word, which is written different. If it's written in the Dutch way, more, then you have actually the M, the maximizing of O, space, of spatial references in R, making connections. You have a filled in space to the max, so you can even have the maximizing is even maximizing further. And what can it be associated with? You have a couple of mores, as you see here. The more can be this coffee can, which is also called a morceau, I found out in the internet. That they have the more head, which was also something we used in the bakery, but nowadays the black people find this humiliating for some reason, because the more was associated with the black head, which is not really true. If you also see that it's not the black head, the Moors were not black. They were a mixture of races from northern Africa, mostly stimulated by Arabic conquest from the Islam, and they conquered a small part of Europe for the purpose of spreading the Islamic culture and making a larger cultural heritage there. And as you can see, even the Moors' heads, they are not all black, but as you say, they are more black than others. They are more. They have here even the heads have something more. There's always this more filled in is what is actually the association behind the word. It's and behind the forms. It's something that you can see in the word associations from the letters alone. The English is written differently. You have the E at the end. So the association that comes out is that you compare it to what is more from within. What is actually more is the only thing which is actually more than the M. The M is the square. It's only the small part which is even extending that. So even when you have reached maximum, it means then that you also have even that goes beyond that. You have this more. This is more is only that small part. Then we also have your, the two O's. You have here the y, which is the loosely connection because it's written as a Y. It also means that you have direction. You can go to either direction of maybe I connect to something new or I connect to something known. It is a vague distinction of what you want to reach, what you can reach. But because also of this loosely connection between the one O and the other O, you can associate what it means based upon what your is. What we know that your is the connection between one person, you, and the other one, or the I, and the other one, the you. And you say actually that something belongs not to you or to me, but to the other one, you, the other one, the other. It's from you, it's yours. So your is this loosely connection of who does it belongs to. There are differences between two persons, and there are differences between the connections. Some things can belong sometimes to me, sometimes they can belong to you, and sometimes belong to you. So this loosely connection, which is gets a reorganization in time, is actually the frame which is used here. Not going to go deep in this. If you really want it, I make a large analysis of it, but it should be enough to realize this loose connection between the two centers, between the loosely hanging together, and the choices that you can have that something belongs to one of both parties, and that they are interconnecting and making a connection, and especially making a connection because of the why to somewhere else, to the other, then let's say. And the last, I think this is the last one, we have DOORN and TORN. DOORN. You have the D here, so the pressure point with the two O's, the environment within, the environment without, which have an interconnection, and at the point of interconnection there is something that becomes physical there. This spiraling becoming physical is something that you can use very much here, because we also know what the DOORN or the thorn is and looks like, and you can almost feel the pressure where it exists, where it comes there. And this pressure point has this form of the torn or the thorn. Torning apart, okay, maybe I could have had a better version of that, but this is my first attempt. This video is just to give you one idea, and at some other point you have a different angle, and you already sense it better. I didn't go too much into the frame of time and space, how you give an order to that. It can be very important to be correct and to see where exactly in the scheme, because my schemes should be important. If you want to know the full context of how letters really hang together, this background context matters. It is fully developed in the developing stage, still in the development of the word, but you have enough to do something with it. And you can also find it in sounding form, of course, itself. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want more demonstrations, more instructions. At this point I also made a list of all my demonstrations on gerald-johanvanoise.online. Thanks again, and bye-bye.